Hi guys, there is time for a new outlook for the upcoming week. We got a bit of data this coming week, the upcoming week. No, this week actually, because we are trading on Monday already. Sorry for the slight delay. I know that some of you have already messaged me, Frank, when is the weekly update coming, the outlook coming? It is here right now, and for you to hopefully find interesting momentum in markets. Bitcoin nearing the 100,000 psychological technical resistance area. The US dollar, well, is it going to be shaky? Will the dollar remain somehow weaker? That's what we want to find out. And how are precious metals doing? And obviously also the oil markets since the recent turmoil in general market motivation. Let's start straight with the topic right now and focus on what might go as well in markets and what obviously kind of is going to be the potential information, the potential news story we shall focus on. Let's move towards the greenback, the dollar. Euro dollar obviously kind of in a sideways pattern, but with weakness. The dollar kind of went to the downside initially last week, starting to resume upside momentum. The support area, recent support, which was broken, turning into resistance right now is the key takeaway. Will upside momentum continue? I might say potentially yes, because most of the markets kind of give us information, similar stories and similar momentum where not the euro is gearing up momentum, but also the dollar. The pound is losing against, the pound is gearing up. The dollar is losing against the pound, vice versa, where obviously the upside is being retested. Will the market move to the upside? It looks like there could be some potential momentum, at least unless the support area, the recent support area is not being broken. Upside momentum might continue. Looking at long-term charts, and that's what we could find out from the dollar index, telling us somehow a bit of a different story. The greenback is currently pushing somehow strong against other currencies, and there might be further momentum kind of to be seen. The question is going to be whether the upside in the dollar can continue. Now, that is the dollar index. Here we are on the daily chart. Let's check out how the market goes. We are trading at a certain level, 108. We won't need to talk about the psychological numbering, the recent momentum, because traders mostly in the dollar index focus on the recent trending motivation, which was to the upside and which is currently potentially kind of in falling territory. We've seen the market is pretty much responsive into falling market motivation. When we're looking at the RSI, the relative strength index, there is motivation here that the market could actually tend to weaken somehow further. And that's basically also what the weekly chart shows us here right now. The market has kind of really geared up a lot of momentum. Origin, fundamentally Trump elected, right? So dollar strength. We see that this is potentially fading. The budget deficit might actually increase motivation. We see potential momentum in regards to global tensions increasing further. When we're looking at economic trade motivation, we can observe that potential tariffs kind of will increase motivation, which is not really also helpful for the US economy. We see budget deficits, we see the global story from the US side might turn negative, but that's kind of a bit of a postponed story, right? So at first, the dollar was heading to higher levels, and that's not only during the recent election, but fueled by further Trump optimism. The dollar index was gearing up steam. Now potentially time at least for a correction. Recent support might kind of be what has and is going to be tested here for now. The next levels, and there are quite a few next levels we could see, might be in focus, and those levels could be interesting because those levels are kind of quite offering some further correction to the downside. But let's move back further towards the Australian dollar as well, as the Aussie was also gearing up some sort of momentum. Now with a movement in regards to the US trading session, we see the dollar, the greenback, is gearing up some momentum. If that's, however, enough for what is yet to come in the next couple of trading days, might be discussed. Looking on further towards the economic momentum, and let's just move towards the economic calendar. We got numbers basically on Wednesday, consumer prices from Australia. They could be interesting potentially, as they might offer a bit of an uplift. 2.5% is the expected figure here. That's the yearly basis basically, and that could kind of amid the recent falling momentum in regards to consumer prices offer strength for the Aussie, right? If the actual 2.5% figure is being tested or actually increased, and then we could see that the Aussie might gear up some momentum. We got the interest rate decision as well from New Zealand. Well, is that going to move market momentum significantly? We could debate. I might say not too much. The Kiwi has weakened quite a bit, and the Kiwi, the New Zealand dollar, looks quite poisoned to actually weaken even below the recent support zone. If that's going to be broken, further downside momentum might occur. The market might actually kind of weaken again somehow further. The technical support zone is seemingly what's broken at the moment, and this zone might unleash further downside momentum in this market. How's the story going to unfold? Well, we got 4.25% election upcoming potentially in terms of the interest rate decision. So 50 basis points rate reduction might actually help to cause the Kiwi to weaken somehow further. Last but not least, core PCE information from the US. That's quite often something which is important for the dollar. PCE, personal expenditures, basically are the key, one of the key takeaways for the Federal Reserve. And from the Fed, we expect not much of further rate cuts, at least this year, plus the next month or the first month in January next 2025. So that could be somehow guide us. That could somehow guide us in terms of further interest rate motivation. Well, we debated right now what might go, right? So the euro gearing up, slight momentum. The pound in kind of a bit on a weaker side. The Aussie also starting to fade a little bit. But all those three aforementioned currencies are about to basically strengthen somehow further. And now it's time for metals to see how they perform. The silver market is going to weaken, that's for sure. That recent momentum, that's also one of the reasons why we actually start our outlook here only today, because markets were kind of shaky over the weekend when looking at the crypto market. But at the moment, we see that further downside momentum might happen here when looking at the charting pattern. We see the clear takeaways here, right? So that support zone, the clear takeaway, we have this zone here, long-term chart, a potential buying opportunity, another buying opportunity there. And right now, is that going to tell us that the market will move to the upside is the question mark, or is that going to tell us that the market is going to weaken further? Well, two opportunities as we laid out before. The 50 moving average kind of potentially moved into the near future here with my simple charting opportunities, tells us that there is some support kind of potentially happening in the near future. Should the market fall, that's at the low 25 US dollar area here. If that area holds, well, upside might occur. If that area falls, then the market might actually even fall further. We have quite a bit of support in the near future here, but bottom line, if market momentum wants to basically unleash downside momentum, we might see that also silver prices would kind of be determined to weaken somehow further. The industrial metal obviously kind of quite rather an interesting factor to debate. Short-term charts, and that's now on gold, right? Gold has been fading. Gold fell quite a bit, but then recently found a bit of a supportive trend basically at the early hours of this trading day. We are now only trading on Monday, right? So we fell from 2720 all the way to 620, roughly $190. That's a significant drop, and there's no end in sight for now. Instead, what we can observe is that the charting opportunities here in gold look quite weak. with that, we could basically see further sliding motivation, which could be one of the signs that also gold might be ready basically to weaken somehow further. Last but not least, if looking at it from the long-term charting pattern, from the monthly chart, the market still looks in positive mood as we are approaching the end of November. The question remains, will we see upside motivation? Yes, I might say we could, but will we furthermore as well see downside motivation? Yes, we could as well if the market is going to kind of fall below the recent supportive trend. It remains in the eye of the beholder how the story is going to continue in the near future. Looking at oil markets, well, we see that oil has started to resume the downside right on top of this really important support area, kind of slight resistance, strong resistance, stronger resistance. Now, this is calling for downside momentum. Let me mark in those recent support areas, support here, support there. We've seen it quite a few times, and since the recent zones, let me include this as well, have held the market kind of and we're talking upside momentum, unleash. The market was kind of gearing up some momentum here. Now the market motivation looks quite weak, right? So we debated this quite a few weeks back. Now the market is and has been positive, falling prices basically 2 weeks back. Last week positivity. Is this now the interesting opportunity here on the weekly charting basis? Well, let's talk about it. Monday the market weakens. The market on Tuesday needs to gear up momentum, and exactly on top of this level, if the market is able to kind of break above this area, the rocket might start motivation. If the market is going to weaken below this area, that's at least for those who trade long-term charts, there might be further downside momentum happening, and there might be further motivation kind of to call for a downside. Long story short, in the oil market, is the monthly chart is not gonna lie here. We had weaker my price momentum than basically last month, October, the market tested the 50 moving average, and now we are about to weaken. If long-term charts are concerned, we see downside first of all, where upside areas might only be used as retracements. So any market rising momentum might be used to get fresh opportunities into falling prices in the near future. We forgot about cryptos. So Bitcoin nearing the 100K level and is now about to fade, right? So 100K not bearing very far off the table. The market, holy moly, after the election of Trump, which basically really moving through the roof to the moon, as some famous US funds would call it. So the upside is going to look positive, but continuation pattern towards higher levels, I might doubt it a little bit, but ask your neighbor, he knows, and your taxi driver, he knows better, and they know better. If everyone is going to be in Bitcoin, it has to rise only. Guys, obviously kind of use your own mind, your own idea in order to judge market momentum. Ether moving slightly higher. XRP is kind of quite interesting. We tried our shorts last week, didn't work out, so that's trading. Now the XRP market has really tested the next high at the 1.50 level. Strong resistance. We remain in a little bit of a short position right now. One of the short positions over the weekend was closed out, so let's see if the next one can drive market momentum to the downside. Again, this is only a quarter of a regular position because we got figured out that the upside still remains a key point and a key takeaway. I think we need some more short-term pricing pattern, which tells us, however, we got this beautiful pin bar candlestick, and this is what helped us here to guide us into our short position. So for all our subscribers, by the way, guys, leave your comments below the video and don't forget to subscribe to our channel here. This was just a fruitful trade. Technical pin bar candlestick pattern. We closed half of the position at this level. The remaining half got triggered back towards near the entry we reduced the stop loss, so the remaining half kind of made up for about 1.5% profit here. So for the month, it would be good for us here. That said, right now, the market might actually weaken somehow further, looking at this candlestick, this pin bar candlestick pattern. And I might not be surprised if the market really, after these rising trends here, will fall further. However, small position only is what is key for this market for now. Speaking of which, we started also observing Solana, and in Solana there is a nice breakout going to happen potentially, depending on how the charting pattern goes. But after the breakout here, the resistance area broken, a retest is where we would look for new entries. Obviously, we're going to update our subscribers as well in our chat groups and newsletters when there might be time for upside potential if the markets follow our trading signals and our signals we see from a recent trading pattern. So that's for Solana. What else is up and running? Stock markets won't stop. The NASDAQ higher, the S&P again this week also starting higher, but starting to fade a little bit, right? So we see a slight bit of dollar strength in the recent couple of hours today at the first Monday trading for the week, and this seems to be what is not in favor of equities. I might say we are potentially still ready, still with the MACD indicator being up high here, to see downside momentum at some point. Do we have valid reasons to believe that markets fundamentally would weaken? Not quite. Would there be potentially any black swans or whatsoever coming up? I might say potentially, at least with these markets being rocking up the show here so much. Long story short, dollar potentially weakening as the daily and weekly charts currently confirm. Euro up, pound potentially, Aussie also up. Don't forget the news out of Australia on Wednesday. CPI data might tell us where markets might go to. Silver is weakening, gold also correcting still to the downside. That might not be a following trend of the US dollar, but rather a bit of a cooling currently of geopolitical tensions. Geopolitical tensions down, a more positive risk sentiment in equities. They were going up. Dollar is weakening. That's helping equity markets in general, and that's actually something which helps the precious metals sector to weaken, which is what we can observe. Oil actually also weaker, whatever the reason might be. I might call for a technical resistance pattern at the trend line, which is what causes the oil markets to weaken. And furthermore, I would say as well, I wish you guys a happy trading week. That's a bit of a shorter and late outlook for the week today. Happy trading, stay tuned, and watch us focus on your next trade. See you then. Take care, guys. Have a good one. Bye.